Os, konbanwa, genki desu ka? Hope you are well this fine evening on Tuesday, the 17th of November. Trying to think what day and time it is. Good evening everybody, welcome to Karate in Your Dojo 2.0 we're calling this. I am hoping that I am going to be able to see some of your comments this evening, but it doesn't look great if I'm honest. So can you comment if you can hear me, and then I'll see if I can see it on the screen. I've got another phone to see if I can get the comments on another screen. Just trying to see if I can connect with everybody really, to be honest. I don't like doing this on my own, it's a little bit scary. So just going to see if any one of you or any of you can comment. All I'm getting is notifications that you're watching, which is not good enough. And I don't know why things have changed. I'm sorry about this. I'm just trying to see if there's any way I can get your comments. And it doesn't look like I can. So this is going to be troublesome again. I've got two different cameras and neither of them are working, which is not awesome. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick shout out to a few people I can see on here. So Andy Sensei, Ken Sensei, Andy Sensei, Ken Sensei, Isaac, Lucy and Paul, good evening. Dexter, good evening. Tim and Family Huxtable, Matthew, so hopefully that's Harry or Caleb, Reese, Harry, and Betsy and Michaela. I think that's it so far. I'm sorry, but it's for whatever reason whether Facebook's changed the app or what since we last did this, but I cannot see your comments. So I'll endeavour to try and come back with those at the end. So I do apologise. I'm using 3 phones this evening and none of them seem to be helping, which is really disappointing. So I'm assuming that I know that Facebook have changed this app, so maybe I need to come up with a different alternative. So tonight's lesson then is based around. I called it How to Make a Black Belt. I hope you didn't think and get too excited that we were going to actually make one of these today. I was slightly concerned if you did think that would be one of my lessons, although my lessons are a little bit on edge sometimes. But what I thought I'd do is we'd take one technique, so one basic Kihon technique, and over tonight and Thursday, depending on how far we get, because there's no pressure in terms of time, but we've got an hour on each evening, is show you the developmental stages of that technique as we lead the person, okay, the karateka, towards their black belt. So my aim is to show you a basic Kihon technique, which would be one of the very first ones that you learn in karate, and then show you what it's like to do it as a white, blue, red belt, okay, kind of the same stage. And then next stage, or stage 2 as I would call it, and that would be sort of yellow belts and green belts. And then we'll take it to a 3rd stage, purple belts, purple white belts, and then 4th stage up to brown belt, and then finally a 5th stage where we're a black belt. And I might even go as far as beyond that. And the idea of that is to show you the progression, okay, of an individual technique and how it changes, and how we do it changes in terms of maybe adding it into a combination or using it in different parts of karate. So the technique we're going to do is Age Uke. So Age Uke means upper rising block. Okay, Agi meaning literally that, upper rising. Uki means block, okay, or also receiver, so defending yourself, etc. So we're going to stick with that one block, okay, and we're first of all going to practice it together from a Kihon basic as if we were white belts, but then show the progression to further stages: yellow, green, purple, purple, white, brown, brown beyond, black belt beyond. So that's the idea. So hopefully there'll be something for everybody. Remember, it does, regardless of grade, we are all white belts. Okay, so my black belt, as you can see, is very much going white. Okay, I've had this one a long time. I bought this in Japan when I first went, so that's at least 16 years ago. So it's something that grows with you and changes with you, and I think I'm going a little bit white around the edges here as well. So it's important that we understand the evolution of karate, okay, as our badge shows from our sky badges, that we start here, okay, and we come full circle. Some people think we get to our black belt and that's it, and really not. It just keeps going and going, and we keep learning, which is really important. So hopefully we've got a few people watching now, which is great. Yeah, there's at least 16 people. Robot family, thank you, good evening. Hopefully that's Zach and Christian Sensei. Alex, I hope you're well. Thomas, I hope you're well, and I'm so sorry that I'm not saying hellos to everybody. And I missed Freya's birthday shout out last week, which absolutely got me right there. So happy birthday, Freya. I hope you had a great birthday at the weekend. I will reply to all your lovely kind messages, and I do really enjoy reading them afterwards, but again, I can't get it live on any of the devices that I'm using, and I'm using a number of different ones, and it's just not changing. So I think it's down to us. Josh, good evening. Hope you're well, young man. I've actually got a message. Oh, that's just... Okay, right, this one's working. So let's have a quick shout out to a few people. Michaela and Betsy, Zoe and Nina, us, I hope you're both okay. Kayla, good evening, us. Okay, so I've got a few comments on this one, so that's at least working. Thank you, the Huxtable Clan. Harry, I will said hello to. Okay, so at least there's some messages coming through. Okay, awesome. So let's get beginning then. So we'll just have a quick warm up. So just bring the arms forwards. Okay, nice and relaxed, remember. And be mindful of where you are in your dojo in terms of space. I don't have huge amounts here, but it's enough for me to train and connect with you. Right arm backwards, left arm forwards. And remember, if you struggle with this particular movement, just work on it slowly. And it's just really been able to connect your body and brain, as I've said, many lessons, many times. That's all karate is. Okay, stretching the arms out. And then crossing over. Okay, just now, just to free up your hips, just bring the arms around. And I'm just literally just letting my arms completely relax here, so they're just hitting my body, just because we're rotating around this axis point. Kita Sensei calls this jiku. Okay, so jiku means the Japanese word for axis. Okay, and our axis point is going to be really important tonight, particularly with Age Uke. Okay, take your right leg up. Hold your knee, okay, and the shin bone, your tibia. Okay, bring it high, tight to the body. Okay, just move your foot upwards and downwards. Okay, keep everything relaxed. And down. Okay, take your left leg, so Hidariashi. Again, bring it up, hold your tibia, hold your knee, bring it tight into the body. Just relax that foot backwards and forwards, give it a waggle. Give your sumasakis, tips your toes, a waggle as well. Okay, shake the legs off, shake the legs off. Okay, so just Zenkutsudachi front stance. Okay, just pushing down, relaxing to stance, okay. Let your knee naturally drop over the big toe. Get the back leg straight but not locked out. Okay, and then twist your hips the other way. And then back to the front. This time really stretch down. Try to keep your posture, your jiku point, your axis point nice and straight. Twist the other way. Okay, a Kyotsuke, so heels and toes together, Haisukudachi, and stretching up with the arms, and over to your left, and over to the right, and stretching down with the hands to your toes. If you can touch your toes, then great. If you can't, then try your shins. If you can't, your knees. And if you can't, I'm sorry. If you can, flat on the floor, straighten your back. Okay, so pivot point here, and back up. So that's as if we were bowing. Okay, so straighten your gi and your obi. Please remember on these lessons, I'd rather you warm up before, if you don't mind, just to not waste too much time in terms of our warming up. So keiku is the Japanese word for training. Okay, so now we start to begin training. So always think about your form, think about your posture, think about your stance, think about your breathing, think about all these elements. But actually as a beginner, all you're worried about is they're going to ask me to Kiai at some point, so we will do that. So, okay, so white belts, we learn technique first. So we're going to do this from a static position first of all. So Age Uke, upper rising block. Okay, so I want you to take your right arm, so migi, migi one. Okay, take your right arm and place this sort of above the head here, not too far away, so not here. So leave the elbow here, so more of a 90 degree here, which is similar to the block, Okay, and in your other hand, your left hand on your hip, here. Okay, then Age Uke, upper rising. Lots of people think it's this. Lots of people think it's this. And in fact, many of us do it this way when we first taught it by our senseis. Okay, but Age Uke. Think of it as almost a punch to the centre of your body. So keeping this tight into the body, and then rising to here. Now, I naturally turn my hips now. I'm sorry, from a static position, I probably shouldn't because I'm trying to teach it from a white belt perspective. So from here, keep it tight into the body. So it almost goes to the centre of the body here, then rises. Then it rises, and then we push the elbow, but not the shoulder. The shoulder stays where it is. The shoulder stays where it is. It doesn't come up. As the elbow rises, the shoulder stays down. The angle of the arm here, okay, it's not horizontal, it's dropped down. So this is where if you bring your shoulder up, you will have it horizontal, you just let your shoulder drop. A natural drop-off point here. Why not that way and why that way? Well, my sensei always taught me that basically if the punch comes in, if it hits this point, it's going to deflect and run downwards like water. Okay? If it's this way, it will run downwards towards you. So always away from the body makes more sense. I've always believed that myself because it's always worked for me. So Age Uke again position, not this shoulder up, not this shoulder up. So this position here, and we're just going to do this from a static Syllabus position, stationary position. So from here into this point of coming together. Remember what I said last week about no arms? Okay, keeping this into the body here, this position here, and then we move up to here. Okay, and higher grades you can feel this connection here, hikite and kime as we end our technique. Okay, so again we're back to the ready position again. So here, this point here, as they move down, as they cross here, this one starts to rise to here. Okay, I'll try and keep square on actually for beginners. Keep the elbow tucked in. So again, ichi, ni, san, shi, go, rok, sich, hach, ko, haiju, iya, hei yame, and right, os. So just 10 from the Sonoba position here. So now we're going to engage our brain a little bit more. Okay, a little bit advanced for a white belt, but I think actually, I want to make this class as interesting as possible for everybody. So now we're going to use a little bit of hip. Okay, but don't be tempted as we maybe pick up speed when we're doing this technique to do this. Soon as you bring the elbow away from the body, soon as you bring the hand off the hip, you lose your form. You give away what you're about to do. So in a kumite perspective, this does not work. Okay, you need to make sure that your opponent doesn't know what you're doing. Your opponent needs to think all the time they've got you until the last second when you're able to block correctly. So it's important to keep your form. Okay, so shoulders, always thinking about those. Okay, coming into this position here and up strong. And this time rotate your hip back. Okay, and remember we focused on this in the first lockdown quite a lot actually. I spoke a lot about this. Shomen. Shomen means front facing. And hikite, hanmi. Get my words muddled up. Hanmi, half facing. Shomen, hanmi. Shomen and hanmi. Okay, so now hikite. So pull push. Bring this hand down, bring this hand up. So each and hanmi. Ni, san, shi, go, rok, sich, hach, ko, Here, Age Uke. Hey, yame. And ready. Okay, good. Hey. And just take a step back so you have room to do the technique forwards and backwards. Okay, so I've got probably just over 2 meters space. You're going to do 1 step forward when we do this technique moving forwards and 1 move back. Okay, naturally, with blocks, most of the time we move backwards. To receive, we move backwards. Okay, that is also part of the defence mechanism. Moving forwards, a little bit more for higher grades. So we're going to make sure we have room to go forwards and backwards. So right, and your weight. Must make sure I don't hit my new tori gate. 8 step forward, gidan barai kamai. Ich. Okay, so here. I should explain myself. As a sensei, I always say step forward, gidan barai kamai. Okay, now gidan barai is downward sweep or downward block as we know it. But to me, this is more of a positional technique than it is a block itself, because we're stepping forward. So I always say kamai. Kamai is Japanese for position, okay, or take up or position. So I always think that I've often said it for many, many years, and I don't know how long, but I was being questioned about it by somebody, and I said that's just the way I do things. We all do things differently. So step forward, gidan barai kamai. Okay, so remember, hips are hammy, half facing. Left hand, gidan barai position. We'll work on this block another day, but not today. Stance, natural, forwards towards the big knee. Okay, over the front knee. Yoi position, so make sure that hand is where we had it previously. Okay, remember 90-degree angle here. Come through this position here. The hand stays on the hip. The hand stays on the hip through this yoi position, this halfway position. And it's the same as before. We push to here. Okay, and then continuing backwards, we open this hand to the yoi position. We're already in hanmi. So we come back to hips shomen, halfway position. Keep this elbow tucked in, keep your shoulders down, and then come back, Age Uke to here. Now, this is very basic, very much aimed at white, blue, red belts. So 10th Q, 8th Q technique. Okay, so come through yoi position and here. Yoi position and here. Not here and not here. This is mawashi. Mawashi is roundhouse. Okay, so mawashi uke, not a great block for a punch that's coming straight onto you. So this block in itself, if we break it down to this point here, with the hand here, we could actually block gidan barai. We can block uchiyuki. So this is a good position to be in. Then from here we catch everything, whether it be chudan or jodan, here. Okay, so that's why we keep it tighter to the body. So come back to this position, come back to here. Okay, so now let it flow, so come through and block. Come back and block. Come through and block. Come back and block. Difficult tonight, my feet are just stuck to this floor. That's because they're very hot and the floor is very cold. But ultimately you're trying to make a seamless transition. Okay, transition is a really important word in karate, moving from point A to point B, so from one point to the other. Okay, try to make it flow. When we teach this from a basic level, we tend to feet together and then come through here. Okay, this helps students' understanding of how and where the block should be started. Otherwise, they tend to come straight from the hip and step forwards. As a higher grade in a much shorter stance, we do change this technique considerably. But as I said, we're going to show the developmental stages of that. But tonight, just Kihon, just basics. Okay, so let's do 5 forwards, 5 back, and then we change legs and do the other side. So, ready? Os. And then we move on. Step forward, gidan barai kamai. Ich. Okay, so I'm just going to shuffle back, so I need a bit of room for the camera. Okay, so Age Uke position, stepping forward. Ich. And ni. San. Hey, shi. Go. Rok. Sich. Hach. Ko. Hey, Ju. Ear. Hey, change legs. Now left side. Ich. Ni. 3、4、5、6、7、8、9、はい、10。いや、はい、やめ。And make yours. Hey, and just relax. Okay, so important then, shoulders. Okay, this position. Similar to the punch we did last week. Remember we did Chokazuki? Okay, similar sort of position here. Similar position. So, not too much of an angle here, not like this, not vertical, okay, not horizontal, just let the elbow drop. Keep your shoulder down, it naturally does so, okay? And then the hips shomen. To start with, when you block, they change to hanmi. Shomen, hanmi. Shomen, hanmi. So, this block we use as one of the first Kihon meaning basic techniques that we do in karate, okay? We then develop that into combinations, okay, so adding in blocks and punches and then potentially kicks and all sorts of wonderful things. But we must do that at a point whereby we can't just do that after week 1. So for instance, as I said on my sort of message that we were doing how to make a black belt, making a black belt takes quite a period of time. Now that can be anything from 5 years to 50 years, okay, because your journey is individual. It's very much down to the person. I think very rarely is it done under 5 years. I think if you, an adult karateka, training 4 or 5 nights a week, potentially could do it in 4.5 years, but I think any earlier than that is maybe too soon. Okay, so you can't certainly buy a black belt or do it in under 2 years, which I do know was the fashion back in the 90s in my local press. Anyway, you could buy one pretty much, or pay £300 and be a black belt in a year. No, karateka are different, so it's time limited but only by yourself, so there is no timeline really as such. There is no average, it is down to the individual, and some people will take much longer than others, but that doesn't mean they're not as good as those people that do it quicker. It's just a different way of learning. So we are going to now move on from sort of the beginner 10th, 9th, 8th Q sort of level, and we're going to move into the 7th Q, 6th Q. So this is for yellow and green belts. So this is from our syllabus. So this is the Sky England and Asahi Shotokan syllabus. Okay, and so this may be different wherever you're training, or whichever dojo you're with, and whichever sensei you train with. Your syllabus may be slightly different, but I would say that this is around the 7th, 6th Q area. So this time, if we go back and just make sure again we have our meter forward, meter back, right? 8 yoi. Okay, so again, step forward, a gidan barai kamai. Ich. Okay, so just going to make sure I have the room. So in our syllabus, we do the Age Uke block, okay, followed by a Gyakuzuki punch, and then followed by a gidan barai, almost a repositioning, a yoi position, to be honest. Okay, so this is a 3 technique combination, and this is for 7th, 6th Q. So yoi position again here. Check those shoulders. Check the hips are at hanmi. Always referring back to being a white belt. Okay, I've been training for 30 years. I don't ever forget that day, okay, when I was a white belt. And in fact, I love working with white belts because it reminds me of my youth, which is a good thing. And always referring back to that. Never ever look too far forwards in karate. Always look about what you've learned and what you can change to move forwards, if that makes sense. So your yoi position here, coming through the yoi position to block Age Uke as we've done before, but this time the hips are handy, ready to punch. So we punch Gyakuzuki, okay, and then from this position here, gidan barai. Watch the shoulder here because it's easy to bring the shoulder up, bring it down here to here. Okay, so moving back, yoi position, come back through the yoi position here, Age Uke. Make sure hips again, hand me, shoulders down. Hey, punch Gyakuzuki, a gidan barai to here. Awesome. Okay, so again, just do this very slowly for everybody. So hips at hanmi, Age Uke position, yoi, step through and block strong. Okay, punching strong, hikite, pull push. And then yoi position, no elbow up, bad form here, gidan barai. And step back, ich, and ni, hey, san. Okay, I'm doing these techniques very slow and very deliberate. I hope that's coming across okay on camera. Keeping it as basic as I can, but without being too boring. Difficult to do. No feedback. I don't do karate without feedback, so I always ask my students how it's going. I can tell by their smiles on their faces. When I'm on my own in the house, it's not so good. So again, yoi position, come through and block. Ready to punch. And then gidambarai. And step back. Each. So this is almost like a comeback position. Comeback position. Age Uke, each. And gidambarai. And ni. And gidambarai. Hey, and yami. So here, what we want to try and do is start to, as we move higher up the grades towards our journey towards black belts. Remember, we're off the baseline now, okay, and we're just creeping up on this not so steep curve, if I'm honest, but actually it is a little bit because we're going from one basic technique to 3. So we're coming up this curve, and we need to start to put these techniques together. So for me, and when I teach, I always put Age Uke Gyakuzuki as a bang bang. So a bang bang. My dog's not going to like that. It's only me. So she thinks it's fireworks. So bang bang, okay? And then gidambarai at the end. Block, punch, block. Some instructors teach it that way. Bang bang, block, punch, position. Okay, taking back that position. Okay, so it's individual. So I'm not saying what is right and what is wrong. We all do things in our own way, I think, anyway. So this time a little bit more focused on the block punch. Block punch. Okay, step forward, gidambarai kamai. Ich, yeah. Okay, so stepping forward then. Age Uke Gyakuzuki and gidambarai. All the way through, slow speed. Ich. Hey, back knee. San. Shi. And kiai go. And yame. And step forward, gidambarai kamai, right leg forward. Ich. Okay. And stepping forward, Age Uke, hips at hammy. Yoi position, come through, block, and punch, gidambarai. And gidambarai. Block and punch. Ich. Ni. San. Shi. Kiai go. Hey, yame. I'm ready. Os. Hey, anyway. And relax. Os. So trying to understand, we move on. Okay. Basic block. Continue with basic block. Okay, but then adding Gyakuzuki and then go back down to a yoi position, gidambarai. Basic block. So everything is basic, but we are starting to, at this point within the 7th and 6th Q syllabus, starting to implement further ideas to our students' brains. Okay, so we're building. I've always said about karate and Lego being very similar. Okay, in terms of we lay these building blocks and then we layer them up, build up, etc. So Age Uke as a technique is very useful, but used very, very widely within Shotokan karate. So within our kumite, we use it straight away, pretty much in 5-step kumite. The first form of kumite you'll use is Age Uke. Okay, you'll do gohon, which is 5-step kumite. If you do 3-step, which is sanbon kumite, you'll use Age Uke as your first technique. If you're doing kaishi pon kumite, return 1-step sparring, you'll use Age Uke as your first technique. Can you see the theme here? If you do juipon, very similar to Age Uke, but slightly more advanced. So we use that quite a lot in kumite, okay, and then from kata perspective, we use it very early on as well. So we use it around this sort of 6th and 7th kyu, 7th and 6th kyu should be, in Heian Nidan. Okay, so we have the Heian Nidan kata, and in fact it's the third from last move and the last move of that particular kata. And of course we use it in other katas, etc. So jite comes to mind. So we use it a lot in karate. So it's a technique that should be done correctly from day one, and in always focused upon to improve as we climb that slope that going up towards our black belt. Okay, so right. So our focus then has gone from a singular technique to multiple techniques. Okay, now we're going to change to the syllabus for the purple belts. Okay, so this is around 5th, 4th kyu, so 5th and 4th kyu. Okay, so right, and our emphasis changes ever so slightly again. Agidan baraikame. Ich. Okay, so from this position then, we're going to just step forwards, basic Age Uke technique. So again, check that position, check your shoulders, check your hips at hanmi, hey, and come through Age Uke here, and then Gyakuzuki. Okay, and then we are only doing 2 techniques now. So you may think, well, hang on, we're going 3 to 2, we're going backwards. We're not, because now we're having to refocus the brain, to reconnect the mind, to change arms, to move forward each time. We're making now more of a natural connection with the block punch. So the block punch. So we're not having this reset position because we're getting ready to go again. So we're not resetting, we're continuing, if that makes sense. So we change our arm each time. So to step back, yoi position ready here, come through, blocking Age Uke, come basic, blocking Age Uke, hanmi, Gyakuzuki. Change the arms, reconnect, reconnect. So you have to have this in your brain. You're not going back from Gidan Barai. So you reconnect. Come through Age Uke, block, Gyakuzuki. Okay, this then would be wrong. Wrong arm. So you have to change your mindset here. So you're refocusing the brain on putting your body into the correct position to make this better. So this is high grade. It's high grade. 3 down to 2 seems not, but as I explained, definitely 2 techniques more complicated to do correctly than the 3 that we did earlier. So remember, this is 5th and 4th kyu kind of grading level. Ich, yeah. Okay, so stepping through. A yoi position, Age Uke come through and block. Hey, Gyakuzuki, yoi position, reset, reset, ready to continue. Ish. Back, reset, come through, reset, reset, 8 final time, and ki, hey, change legs. Okay, remember that I said this a couple of weeks ago, 90% of the population are right-handed and there's 10% that are fantastic. I'll let you guess which side I'm on. Okay, so from here, Age Uke, sorry, didn't mean to offend 90% of the population or the watchers or viewers, as the case is. So again, come through yoi position, basic Age Uke technique here, Gyakuzuki, reconnect. Come back through, yoi position, blocking. Okay, make sure when you punch Gyakuzuki, you're not punching shoulder up, shoulder forward, relax, hip forward, hip forward, hip forward. Okay, yoi position, come back through. Yoi position, hips at hanmi, knee over the big toe, back leg not locked out but straight, just relaxed. Come through. White belt. White belt. Oh, purple belt. Makes a difference, yeah, makes a difference. Technique is the technique, and we mustn't forget it. Then, from here, remember we said this last week, so we did Gyakuzuki quite a bit, if you remember. From here, drive the hip through. With this hand back as this hand comes out, hikite, hikite. Hikite for the block, hikite for the block. Not washi, hikite, correct, hikite. Correct. Hikite with a punch. Hikite. It's all about connections. Okay, it's just making those Really important connection throughout your karate. Okay, ayame, and rei, os. So again, to recap, we do the basic Age Uke technique. Os. So it's a white belt, step forward, get over right, Age Uke, ich, and back, ni. And then yellow to green belt, ish, ni. And then purple belt, ayame. And rei, os, enoi, and relax. Okay, I don't know how your dojo is. Mine's getting warm from the knees up. The room is quite nice temperature. The floor is still -10, I think. Why did we not put in underfloor heating? So, let's see if I can see any comments at all. No, my apologies, still can't see the comments, so at least I try. I apologise for that. I think the app has changed. I do know that Facebook Pages is now changing to Facebook Business. I think Facebook can try and make more money out of it. So my apologies, but I will make sure I respond to all of your comments and your waves and smiles and everything else that you put on the screen, as long as it's not rude. Thank you. Okay, rei, os. Okay, so we've moved then, that transition from 10th Q, 9th Q, 8th Q with just the basic block. Then we've gone 7th, 6th Q with the block punch block combination. And then we're into 5th, 4th Q with our block and punch combination. Connecting the block and punch together, moving forward continuously. Okay, so now we aim to add in another technique, but this time a kick. So this again makes the complexity a little bit more challenging. And then we're thinking more of timing in terms of the kick and then landing with the punch. So our technique for 3rd Q and above, so 3rd Q to 1st Q, okay, as part of our syllabus, is Age Uke, upper rising block, back leg kick with a maegeri. Okay, so that's a front snap kick. Okay, and finishing with a lovely gyakuzuki to the front as well. And this, as a basic combination, throws people quite quickly because of the kick, they use the wrong leg, etc. But our focus remains the same, so just a block. Let's concentrate on just the block and then work out how we add in the higher grade elements. Always start with the basic block. Unfortunately, people tend to think, oh, must do the kick and punch, and they forget the block. So they will bow, step forward, get ambarai, and they'll rush the block, and they'll do it wrong. They'll do it wrong. And then they'll do a good kick and a punch, but they have done it wrong already. And this is where we can fall into this trap with Shotokan karate, and that is by we pick up little bad habits, as we do when we're pretty much in anything in life that we're taught. We pick up our own little ways, okay? Sensei-isms, if you're talking about me. So we have these little bits of us that maybe draw us away from the path of the correct path, if that makes sense. So we take these little diversions. I hope that makes sense. We must continue on that path of basic technique all the time in our head. It doesn't matter what grade we are, basic is basic. So keep the basic Kihon technique as it is. Make the other two basic Kihon techs work at a higher level, definitely. But basic block is important. So, right, ayoi. And step forward, gidan barai kamai. Remember, no shoulders as you drop forwards, just naturally almost throw your obi. Yeah, let your obi pull you forward. Imagine someone's actually pulling your obi. We do this in the dojo occasionally, particularly with the adults, where you get somebody to pull you along as you punch or izuki. It really does. You shift across the dojo quite quickly. So just from here, gidan barai kamai position. Okay, so let's do this nice and slowly. Okay, so again, set out your body in terms of a natural position, okay, so knee over big toe, hips at hand knee, not too long in stance. I did miss out this point at the beginning because we're not focusing on stances at the moment, but there's a white, blue, red, orange, ridiculously low stance to strengthen the legs. There's a yellow and green belt, low stances, purple belts, low stances, brown belts, low stances. Get into black belt stance then starts to come shorter, comes up, more natural because it makes us faster. We need to keep strong low stances for this technique. Okay, so correct position for stance, okay? So again, yoi position, check your shoulders, okay? Check your 90-degree angle here, make sure your Age Uke is correct. Come through the basic position and imagine you're just a white belt and that's all you need to do. So your hip is at hand-knee. Now you have to drive the hip through with the kick, here, and then land with a Gyakuzuki, reverse punch to the centre. And again, from a high grade perspective, the block stays the same, and now our understanding of what we want to do changes to the kick connecting to the front, making sure it's on target, the punch following suit, okay? And then I'll develop that in a second for you. But that's what we're doing. So back to your position, hips at hand-knee, check your stance. Yeah, hopefully at this point in your karate career, so 3rd Kyu and above, you're a brown belt, you've been in karate for at least 2 years, maybe 3 years, possibly even longer, who knows. Okay, and you're starting to develop pure technique, and maybe a bit of speed now as well. But don't go too fast too soon. So come back to your position, Age Uke correctly, okay, and then kicking Maigeri, and then punching Gyakuzuki. Yoi position, Age Uke, Maigeri, Gyakuzuki. Yoi position, hips at hand-knee, Age Uke, Maigeri, Gyakuzuki. So let's let's pay more attention now to the technique after the block. So our Age Uke we know is the same as before, so just beginners technique, it makes no difference. Okay, and now we're trying to learn how to connect these other two techniques. The difficulty here is one is a kick, always problematic I think to do, and this is the first time we've put in a kick in our combinations, okay, other than just straightforward kicking combinations. So in your gradings this is quite a big jump, okay, from 4th and 5th Kyu. 3rd Kyu and above is I think a pretty chunky jump. So important then to try to connect this kick as you drive your kick through, okay, you're kicking Maigeri. So Maigeri back kick, or it's front snap kick, okay, kicking with the back leg is what I should say. So we're in this Age Uke position here. So you don't want to be bringing your leg around. You really don't want to be coming up. You want to try to keep this knee where it is, this where it is. Kick strong, and keep this tight. And then as you step back, your punch gets fired by this motion here, together. So as the hand lands, the foot steps and makes its connection with the floor, like so, which is no different to this other connection that we do. So it's hikite, pull push, again, same thing. This generates more power and ultimately, more speed and then ultimately more power. But none of that's any good if this isn't correct, okay? So if we come up and kick, this is locked out, kick straight, now I lost my balance. So we must make sure that we hold our form. So we stay as a white belt, and we try to keep that knee where it is, kick Maigeri, a Gyakuzuki. So from this position here, kick Maigeri, hold this position. This, if we're talking of Jiku, okay, that word, as I said, that Sensei Akita uses a lot, which means axis point. Our balance is dependent upon that axis point. So if at any point we change that, and we put our knee here, straight away my balance is compromised because that's a big leg, that's a big limb, okay, it's heavy, and straight away it is causing me all sorts of issues to keep my balance straight. Okay, I might be exaggerating a little bit here. So what I need to do is drop my hip and bring this into the body, so draw everything closer. No big movements, no big Age Uke, no, bring the leg up and bring it out. Keep it tight. Keep everything so it's closer to the body. The closer it is to the body, the more control we have over it. The further away it is, these limbs, these legs, they're heavy things and so more difficult to control. So this will take a fair bit of time. So from the brown belt stage of 3rd Kyu right the way through to 1st Kyu in intermediate downgrade, we're trying to develop this technique, and that's why we spend so long on it. So we're talking a year, 18 months, almost 2 years on just this technique, because of its complexity in terms of getting the balance correct, the yoi positions, etc. So let's rate and yoi, and step forward, gidan barai kame. Okay, so just check your position before you move. Relax, Age Uke, come through, do the basic block as if we're all wipeouts. Okay, then try to keep the weight on that knee. Kick in maigeri. Ooh, are you wobbling? Are you wobbling? Are you wobbling? Is it because your knee's too far out? Then bring your knee in closer. Or is it because you're too high up? So, reset, go back, basic technique. Here. Better. Here. Check these points. Here. And you're going to have one side better than the other, I suspect, because you're right left-handed. You're almost certainly probably going to be right or left-sided. So my left leg is without a doubt my strongest. My balance is more naturally left-sided. So you have to work on both sides though. You can't just say I'm right-handed in karate, because you have to be able to fight with both hands. You have to be able to do kata with both arms. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So try to balance your karate, practicing both sides. And it's best to practice the one that you're not good at. If you don't ever practice that, it will never improve, and so therefore you're never going to make progression, or as much progression as you probably could do. So, again. Hey, yoi, and step forward, gidan barai. Ich, yeah. Okay, so yoi position here. Basic Age Uke, let the shoulders come down, come through, and blocking strong. Kicking, checking stance. Maigeri, ich, hey, punching gyakuzuki. And change arms, yoi position, stepping back, Age Uke, and kicking maigeri, ish. Balance, control, keep this tight to the body, and punch. Hey, Age Uke, ich, ni, and san. Yoi position, ich, and ni. Now as a high grade, we need to pay more attention, but not forget the basic block, to that kick-punch combination. So we pay more attention to that than we do the block, because the block should now be embedded within our karate. We've been training for 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, maybe longer. We need to make sure that we embed that technique, and then we can move on to these other ones. So this kick and punch combination is not easy to do. Okay, so if we go to just the yoi position of the blocks, we've done the block, kick in here. This is what I mean about holding this tight to the body and punching through. Age Uke position here. Holly-san, you've just woken up. Oh, that's right, the dog's ignoring me now. Okay, so from here, kicking, maigeri. Check your position, check in your position, check in your position, and step back. Us. There's no food there, it's in your bowl. Just have to be careful kicking maigeri with the dog in the kitchen. I kicked her one time. Us. You okay? Us. Us. What's this? Good girl. Us. You can go now. Bye-bye. Bye. Great, that's my lesson done. Us. Anyway, never work with dogs or children. Okay, so Age Uke, maigeri gyakuzuki, yoi position. Come through all the way, block strong, kick strong, punch strong. Keep your form, keep your stance. Block, kick, punch. Keep your form. Block, kick, punch. Keep your form. Block, kick, punch. Hey, yeah, mate. And me. It's not at all difficult getting distracted by the dog, is it? So we've shown them through this timeline so far, and we're only up towards black belt. We're not actually at black belt at this level at this moment in time. This will take you to black belt. Okay. In terms of your black belt grading, Age Uke Maegeri Gakuzuki is a technique that you'll almost certainly do. But remember, for your black belt grading, you can be asked to do anything. I think it's really quite naive of people training for their black belt to go to that thinking, well, I'm only going to do the black belt syllabus. Yeah. So we generally, most associations will have a syllabus. They have a 10th Q, 3rd Q, 2nd Q, black belt, Shodan syllabus. But you should not be that naive to think that you're not going to go to that and your instructor or examiner just say, Age Uke, Age Uke. And you're going to go, and they're going to go, Age Uke. And all they want to see is a basic Age Uke to see if you have learned and remembered how to do that technique correctly. And you're thinking, Age Uke Maegeri Gakuzuki, Yashiburai Toshizuki. No. Sometimes we just want to see a basic technique. So we have to have this white belt mindset all the way through our karate. Yeah, it's our baseline. It's important that we remember that. Okay, so let's do a little combination then of all of these techniques. So we're going to do the 10th, 9th, 8th Q technique, which is just the block. Then we'll do the 7th and 6th Q technique, which is the block, punch, block. Okay, then we'll do the 5th and 4th Q technique, which is block and punch. And then we'll do the 3rd, 2nd and 1st Q technique, which is the block, kick, punch. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll do them forwards and backwards, one of each. Okay, and then we'll swap sides and change legs to finish the lesson. And in Thursday's lesson, we will recap very quickly, I might add, okay, and then possibly show you the black belt technique before looking at something else, okay, in terms of how we make a black belt. I hope this has been helpful, and for you beginners to see really the progression you're going to make over the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. Who knows? Anyway, and step forward, get down, break. Each. Okay, so I'll just make sure I have room. So stepping forward, blocking up, rising block, Age Uke, as if you're a white belt, 10th Q, 9th Q, or 8th Q. Each. Okay, now you're a 7th or a 6th Q, so stepping back. Age Uke, Gakuzuki, Gidanbarai. And now if you're a 5th or 4th Q purple belt, blocking and punching. And now stepping back, blocking, kicking, punching as if you're a 3rd, 2nd or 1st Q. Hey, and get under right. Hey, change legs. And stepping forward again, check your positions, basic technique, back to 10th Q, back to our white belt. Each. And then sort of 7th and, 8th and, 7th and 6th Q, can't remember what I'm doing now. Each. Age Uke, Gakuzuki, Gidanbarai. And then coming through 5th and 4th Q technique. And stepping back, Age Uke, Maegeri, Gakuzuki. Hey, and Inoue. Okay, so this time then, a little bit faster, but don't forget, Kihon is Kihon, basic is basic. When we pick up speed, we tend to revert to our bad habits, okay, or I call it reverting to type. So if you have a habit of leaning forward, okay, my nemesis over the years, then you will revert back to that to a point. Always try to fight against that. And don't give up, and don't accept that it's wrong, that it's okay, okay to accept. Don't do that, okay? Make sure you challenge yourself all the time. If you think something's not quite right, challenge yourself, ask questions. Why does that not feel correct? Important. I'll explain in a second. Okay, so last time this evening. 8 step forward, get on Barai. Each. Okay, so Age Uke, white belt. Each. And stepping back. Each. Locking. Punching, get on Barai. Stepping forward. Block and punch. and stepping back. Ish! Rocking, kicking. Yeah! Hey, get under. Hey, change legs. Hey, step forward. Ich. Knee. San. Shi. Aya. Ayame. Amigos. Hey, and relax. Us. Okay, good, well done. So just move your hips around just to warm down slowly. Okay, I always tell my students and people that I train with, because I know they think the same, the only difference between me and you is time. Okay, so if you're a beginner walking into our dojo, it's your first lesson, you have no time, not in the dojo. I have 30 years. That's the difference. Okay, the difference between a white belt and a black belt is just purely time. Okay, and black belts are essentially people in karate who have never given up, provided they're still training, that is. It's irregardless of grade. If you continue to train, you're still training. Okay, I taught first Q. He was my first student I ever taught. Okay, that my sensei allowed me to teach and help. So I was his senpai, and he remained a first Q for about 21, 24 years, something like that. Never achieved black belt. Never wanted to. Wasn't his goal. His goal was just to enjoy training and meet up with his friends, and was an incredible part of the dojo. I do remember somebody who started training with him is now 6th dan. So it doesn't matter, it's immaterial what you wear around your waist. The person has never given up. In my mind, he was always a black belt, but he never took the examination. So technically not, in the mind, yes, very much so. So remember the beginners and the black belts, there's nothing between them apart from time, and that's all that separates us. Okay? If you return back up the next week and I turn back up the next week, we're both together, training together for the purpose of getting better in everything we do. So hopefully tonight's lesson, how to make a black belt, has given you a better understanding of what's required just from that Kihon perspective, because it is just basic Kihon, and we've only really done one technique this evening. But I could spend one night on just the Age Uke block. So I've tried to split the lesson up, I hope you don't mind, in sort of these blocks of 10 minutes, including the warm-up, so that we've got to the full hour. So block, punch, block, punch, block, kick, punch. That's all you have to have in your head to get towards your black belt. And one thing to really remember is that when you become an instructor or an assistant instructor or somebody who helps out in the dojo, that can only help you. Okay? I was always taught that actually by teaching slows you down. Yeah, if you teach too much, it slows you down. No, it doesn't. It does not do that. I've proved that. So it enables you to focus very, very much so on yourself and see yourself mirrored in your students. Okay, and that's really, really important. And that has not slowed me down. I'm faster now than I've ever been in my life. So I don't believe that. I was told that and I didn't believe it, and I don't believe it now. So if you're around that brown belt level and you want to start helping out to teach, then ask your sensei, because you'll be encouraged to do so, because it can only develop your karate. So that's tonight's lessons done. We'll finish with the dojo-kun as I'm starting to mount. So Kyotsuke, rei, os. Okay, just straighten your gi and obi. It's your suit and belt. Okay, and finishing the lesson, os. Dojo-kun. Hitotsu jinkan koukansei ni surumoto koto. Hitotsu makato no michi o momoru koto. Hitotsu doryoko no seishin yashinau koto. Hitotsu radio o moju koto. Hitotsu keki no yo imashimuru koto. Hey, ready, os. Hey, and I'm very apologetic. I'm so sorry that I can't respond to you with the sort of comments that you're making and everything, and saying hi and all that stuff. I'll do it afterwards, retrospectively. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty sure now, having 3 phones, that Facebook have changed the app, and it's not enabling me to see you. I can see when you join, and that's pretty much it at the beginning of the lesson, but I can't see all those wonderful comments that I have to be honest, make me smile, but also encourage me to continue for this hour, because otherwise I'm just talking to myself, literally. So thanks so much for joining me on this Tuesday evening, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully on Thursday. Remember, if you don't catch the lesson live, you can see it on the Facebook page. I post it after the lesson. Last Tuesday's didn't get put on YouTube because I pressed the wrong button, but this week's and last Thursday's went on YouTube. In fact, I think last Thursday's has had over 300 views. I'm not sure who's watching that, but I wish they were in my dojo with me. That'd be great. But thank you so much again for joining me, and hopefully see you Thursday. おやすみなさい。ありがとうございます。おっす。じゃあまたね。おっす。Good night.